When we think of bank today, we picture glass towers, credit cards, and ATMs. But centuries before the Bank of England or HDFC, India had a very different kind of bank. Not in marble halls, but in temples. Temples were far more than religious sanctuaries. They were treasuries, credit institutions, and welfare providers. They stored gold, lent to merchants, built irrigation tanks, and even funded schools and hospitals. From Tamil Nadu's Brihadisvara temple to Gujarat's Somnath, from Odisha's Jagannath to the sun temples of Kashmir and Multan, India's temples shaped the economic foundation of their regions. This is the story of how faith and finance worked hand in hand, how gods became guarantors, offerings became loans, and inscriptions became ledgers, and how temples turned wealth into welfare, funding tanks, roads, schools, and trade across the subcontinent. Let's step back 1,000 years into a world where divine power met economic power and temples were the banks of India. Why temples became banks? Why did temple emerge as banks? The answer lies in three forces: wealth, geography, and trust. First, wealth. Temples attracted massive endowments, gold coins from kings, jewels from merchants, grain from villagers, and countless offerings from pilgrims. For rulers, donating to temples was not only an act of piety but also a demonstration of legitimacy. For merchants, endowing temples was both spiritual insurance and social prestige. Second, geography. Many of India's great temples were built at commercial crossroads. Somnath overlooked the Arabian Sea, Jagannath sat near Bengal's maritime routes, Banaras lay on the Ganga's arteries of trade. Pilgrim and commerce intersected, making temples natural walls of wealth. Third, trust. A temple was sacred ground. Depositing gold with a deity was safer than leaving it with a moneylender. Defaulting on a temple loan was not just financial dishonor, it was a sin. The social and spiritual costs of failing to repay were enormous. Inscriptions even show temple accountants recording every donation and loan, often carved in stone for all to see. This transparency combined with divine sanction gave temple a credibility no private banker could match. The southern model temples as active lenders. Brihadisvara Temple, Thanjavur, Tamil Nadu. In the south, we see the clearest evidence of temples functioning as banks. The Brihadisvara Temple at Thanjavur, built by Rajaraja Chola I in 1010 CE, is a case in point. Its wall contained inscriptions detailing financial transactions. The most famous is the banana inscription. Rajaraja endowed 360 gold coins to fund the daily purchase of bananas for Ganesha. Rather than hoarding the coins, the temple lent them out at 12.5% annual interest. The interest funded the daily bananas while the principal remained intact. This was a perpetual endowment, a kind of trust fund carved in stone. And Brihadisvara wasn't unique. Across Chola temples, inscriptions describe loans to oil millers, weavers, and merchant guilds. The temples diversified risk, lending to multiple guilds instead of a single borrower. Just like a modern portfolio, this reduced exposure to default. Even the repayment schedule mirrored banking norms. Interest payments were often due during festivals, creating public accountability. Jagannath Temple, Puri, Odisha. The Jagannath Temple at Puri played a similar role on the eastern coast. Managed by the Devadaya Karana treasury, it received gifts from kings of Odisha, Bengal, and beyond. Its vaults overflowed with gold and jewels. But this wealth was not static. Jagannath's records, the Mandala Panji, describe loans to merchants. The Chandua system used cloth or salt as collateral. Interest-bearing deposits from wealthy devotees functioned like savings accounts, while loans went to Bengali and Marwadi traders. The temple also played a stabilizing role in times of famine. And don't forget the temple's kitchens, the largest in the world. feeding thousands daily required a complex supply chain financed by temple funds. Somnath Temple, Gujarat. On the western coast, Somnath Temple near Veeraval port was equally important. Arab and Persian traders deposited dinars and jewels here. Ship owners borrowed capital to finance voyages to Arabia and Africa. Somnath's financial role explains why it became a target of raids. When Mahmud of Ghazni looted the temple in 1026, chroniclers wrote a staggering wealth: gold, silver, jewels, and cash. But the deeper story is that this wealth wasn't just ritual. It was circulating capital funding Gujarat's maritime trade. Somnath also used hundis, early bills of exchange. Merchants could deposit funds at Somnath and redeem them at port abroad. The temple thus acted as a clearing house, providing liquidity across regions. Even after repeated destructions, Somnath was rebuilt again and again. Each time, its financial role was restored. Infrastructure, tanks, schools, hospitals. One of the most remarkable aspects of temple banking was how it funded public infrastructure. Take irrigation. Rajendra Chola I built the Chola Gangam tank in 1022 CE. Stretching 16 miles, it irrigated thousands of acres. Temple inscriptions detail sluices, embankments, and canals funded by endowments. Water from the temple tank, Chola Gangam, symbolized both sacredness and sustenance. Take healthcare. Inscriptions from the Tirumukundal temple in Tamil Nadu, dated to Veera Rajendra's reign, describe a hospital. It employed 15 staff, including physicians and nurses, and stocked medicines like ghee, pepper, and haritaki. Salaries and supplies were funded through temple endowments. This was a medieval public hospital financed by temple banking. Take education. Agraharas, residential schools attached to temples, taught Vedas, astronomy, mathematics, and law. Endowments of land funded teachers' salaries. The Sri Gangam temple ran kitchens, libraries, and schools supporting scholars across generations. Temples thus functioned as welfare institutions. North and Central India. Multan Sun Temple, Punjab, Pakistan. In the north, temples played a different but equally important role. The most famous example is the Sun Temple of Multan. Arab chroniclers describe it as immensely wealthy, with walls of gold and jewels, so much so that after conquest, rulers continued to use it as a state treasury. Traders deposited wealth there, knowing it was protected by sanctity and guards. Multan earned the title City of Gold. The temple's economic role was so great that its destruction caused financial shocks across the region. Martand Sun Temple and Kashmir's Raj Tarangini. In Kashmir, the Martand Sun Temple, built by Lalitaditya in the 8th century, stood as a magnificent shrine. But beyond architecture, texts like Kalhan's Raj Tarangini show temples functioning as treasuries. Kings repeatedly tapped temples' treasuries to fund wars, endowments, or relief. Officers were appointed specifically to manage Devdravya, the wealth of the gods. The Martand Temple symbolized this system, grand in stone and deep in resources. Banaras/Kashi, Uttar Pradesh. No city illustrates the blend of faith and finance better than Banaras. Its temples and mats held vast land endowments. Pilgrims poured offerings into the city. But crucially, Banaras was also a hub of Bania bankers. Here, the link between temples and finance took the form of hundis, India's bill of exchange. Merchants could deposit money in Banaras and redeem it in Calcutta or Surat. Temples and mats interacted with these bankers, anchoring the city's economy. Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh. Further west, Ujjain offers another example. Known for the Mahakaleshwar temple, Ujjain was revived under the Marathas in the 18th century. Merchants flocked to its fairs, while Scindia rulers endowed temples with land and cash. The temple became the anchor of urban revival. Rivalry with nearby Indore was as much about temples and trade as about politics. Nathdwara, Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, the Srinathji temple at Nathdwara demonstrates the power of temples as commercial hubs. The Pushti Mart sect attracted wealthy merchants from Gujarat and Rajasthan. Donations flowed in, but so did credit. Nathdwara's fairs became sites of hundi circulation. Pilgrims came not only for darshan but to settle accounts. Art workshops, print businesses, and traders thrived around the temple economy. Here too, temples function as treasuries integrated with merchant banker systems. Decline and legacy. This system did not last forever. From the 13th century, raids and conquest disrupted temple wealth. The Mughal Empire taxed temple endowments. By the 18th century, Marathas and regional rulers controlled temple treasuries. The real prey came under the British. Colonial administrators saw temple treasuries as unproductive hoards. Laws stripped temples from land and banned them from lending. By the 1920s, the Temple Endowment Acts ended temples' role as financial institutions. Yet the legacy survives. Modern temples like Tirupati and Padmanabhaswamy Temple still holds billions of donations. Cooperative banks and self-help groups echoed the temple model, pooling deposits, lending locally, reinvesting in community welfare. Even hundis survive, though modernized. Temples were never just about ritual. They were banks, insurers, hospitals, schools, and builders of infrastructure. They turned offerings into irrigation tanks, endowments into hospitals, donations into schools. From Brihadisvara's banana endowment to Multan's treasury of gold, from Jagannath's famine relief to Banaras' hundi networks, temples shaped India's economic history. So, next time you visit a temple, remember you are not just entering a sacred space, you are stepping into a ruins of an economic system that blended faith and finance, piety and profit, devotion and development. India's temples were not just houses of gods, they were banks of the people. If you enjoyed this deep dive into India's forgotten financial history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to India Business Insights.